doing very well. We are going to be taking some of your calls later tonight, but I'm going to fly straight into what is, quite frankly, a stunning statement coming out of Manchester United. It didn't come out today. I think a lot of people thought it did come out today. I think it came out last week from a Manchester United fan forum. Not a fan forum like you get on Google or anything like that. I mean, it was a discussion, and the board basically issued this statement. I will read it out because there's some really interesting points in it, and it's been very, very refreshing to see the response to it on social media. There are mainstream journalists sort of backing United up on this, but I think fans are waking up to the fact that until proven otherwise, fans have got every right to say that this is a load of nonsense. Everyone at the club, this is from the Manchester United spokesman, everyone at the club from the owners down is focused on competing for and winning trophies at the highest level. To do that, we have invested heavily in the playing squad and will continue to do so. At the same time, the exciting pool of talent coming through from our youth and academy sections is a result of increased investment in the last 5 years. It's important to note that while our successful commercial operation helped drive that investment, the priority is the focus on achieving success on the pitch. Similarly, it is worth noting that we are not looking at buying players based on their commercial value or appeal. We agree that recruitment is critical. We are committed to getting this right, and there has been huge investment in this area to put our recruitment department into a position to be able to deliver the manager the player he wants. This process is significantly more effective than 4 or 5 years ago. You may not have gone along with that one. You may have done, but the key points for me are: everyone at the club, from the owners down, is focused on competing for and winning trophies at the highest level. Lie. It's not true. And focus is a very, very good word to use, because to say that everyone at the club from the owners down to the bottom is focused on competing for and winning trophies at the highest level. Look, focus isn't really a word that enamors me or anybody else. Focus is like being in a boring French class doing GCSE French and your teacher tells you to focus on your books. I'm focused, and you're not really taking it in. I'd prefer relentless quest, priority. These sort of words would be very, very good. Focus doesn't really wash it, and it's not true. It isn't true. There is, Manchester United cannot have a situation where they have a £60 million net spend in the summer, let midfielders and strikers go out the door and don't replace them, and then they're putting stuff out like we are focused on success at Manchester United. I totally disagree. And if that's your plan, then, I'm sorry, it's not good enough. I also don't agree with the invested heavily. I think you invested heavily since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, 900 million. I don't think you've invested heavily in this manager. As I said, a £60 million net spend is absolutely shite. Fulham spent more than that and got relegated a year ago. Everton have spent more than that both the last summers. So, for a club that's massive on the commercial side of things, I don't agree with you on that. I also don't agree that despite commercial success, our priority is success on the pitch. Bollocks. Absolute bollocks. The owners bought us on debt and they've never cleared the debt. So if their priority is success on the pitch, why have they never cleared the debt over a decade later? If their priority was success on the pitch, they would clear the debt. They don't clear the debt because they use club revenues to pay off the interest whilst they just get us free and take out all their bloody dividends. So that's a load of bollocks as well. Manchester United Football Club need to wake up. They need to bloody wake up and stop treating fans like idiots. That's what they need to do. You are treating fans like idiots, and the fans are the customers. And it might be a very harsh lesson for Manchester United to listen to, but the reality is the fans have woken up to this. And the constant bullshit about priority being on the pitch, we're not about commercial revenue, blah 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 blah. Until proven otherwise, I don't believe it. You don't believe it. So they can put as many press releases out as they like. They can talk about quality players wanting to come to our football club, but the reality is, until proven otherwise, it's just talk, and we've had talk for 6 years. So I'll tell you what, my message to Manchester United would be, and I think it's the same as most Manchester United fans, talk the talk, forget it, walk the walk. £60 million net spend in the summer. No midfielders brought in, no attackers brought in. The club is on its bloody knees. We are a mid-table club, and you're talking about priorities. I'm sorry. As Rant said earlier on, I wouldn't wipe my arse with that statement. It's a load of nonsense, and I don't even feel bad for saying it. I love this football club. I just wish the people running it would wake up and start listening, because your plans are crap, your recruitment's crap, and your strategy's crap. So you can talk about all this money you've invested in youth. Where is this youth then? Apparently the youth's ready, but we're playing Matic and Mata yesterday against West Ham. You know what? It's just a load of nonsense. Until proven otherwise, it's a load of nonsense. And I really hope that statement has a lot of truth in it. I really, really do. I hope it comes to pass. But at the moment, fans are absolutely within their rights to say, you know what, you have got all the power. You are Manchester United Football Club. You are the owners. You are the chief executive. You are the manager. You are the players. You have got all the power. But we don't have to listen to it. It's just like politics, isn't it? A lot of people, the Conservatives are in power. Maybe Labour's going to be in power. Maybe the Lib Dems are going to be in power. But nobody bloody trusts them. You know, you do control the country. Yeah, we'll give you that. Nobody bloody trusts you. Nobody believes you. And everybody thinks you're talking nonsense. And it's very similar at Manchester United at the moment. They talk the talk. They don't walk the walk. And as for today, you know, you've got Patrice Evra coming out again saying, if I was in the club, I'd get my mate Dybala to come. What? The player who doesn't want to come to us? The player that we tried to get and didn't want to come? Oh yeah, that sounds like a cracking idea, Patrice. He'll come because he's your mate. Great. What about coming in the summer when we actually tried to get him? Didn't want to come. So no thank you. No thank you with that one. They're also talking about Havertz from Bayer Leverkusen for £90 million. What? Like we scouted Bruno Fernandes all last season, then didn't buy him? Yeah, forget about it. It's just talk. It's all talk. And you know what the talk's all about? It's all these statements, these player links. You know what it's all about? It's all about diverting your attention away from the real issue. And the real issue is Manchester United in trouble. And Roy Keane put it very well yesterday. He said, I fear for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He will take 3 or 4 transfer windows to be successful, but ultimately he might not get that opportunity because it's all about results. And Roy Keane's right. And I think Roy Keane wants Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be successful like all of us do. But the reality is it will be about results. You cannot give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 3 or 4 transfer windows if we are a mid-table football club. We're Manchester United. I heard that a lot from Roy Keane yesterday. This is Manchester United. If I was in the dressing room and people were talking about 4th, I'd lynch them, you know, because it's got to be about 1st. It's Manchester United, and the only people who seem to be really appreciative of that is you, the fans. Manchester United fans seem to know where this club should be going, and you've got these people in charge who really, actually, are rudderless and PR spin. And, you know, they need to start engaging with the fans. I really do. I don't know why they don't do it. They need to start engaging with the fans because actually, I'm not saying the United stand. I'm not saying a fanzine. But what I am saying is there's people who love this club and have loved this club for a long time. They know more about the United way than most of our playing staff. They know more about where this club should be. And they certainly know a lot more about football. I'm sorry to say it. I don't know why fans don't ever big themselves up about their opinions about football, because I've been doing this show for 3, 4, 5 years now, and the amount of people who've said he's not going to be good enough, he shouldn't be being picked, and yet you've got managers on hundreds of thousands of pounds a month, and they don't seem to know what's going on. Ukachaki Patri Osui says, I think if we remain sentiments, Ollie has not done much to deserve a chance to be Manchester United manager. He never progressed beyond being a Mulder manager. Yeah, well, look, let's talk about Solskjaer for a minute. So, I mean, the title of the show is Man United back Solskjaer. And basically, I think Manchester... Look, if anybody thinks Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get the sack, I keep telling you this, and I told you in the summer, it's not going to happen. You know, even if you read that statement that I read at the start, Manchester United Football Club actually are happy with the situation at the moment. They feel that they're heading in the right direction. Whether that's right or wrong, some of you might be really pleased with that. And part of that is obviously the manager. They like what's going on at the football club. They like Solskjaer, they like Carrick, they like Mike Phelan, they like what's going on, they like where they're heading, they believe that they're investing heavily in the squad, even though somebody should tell them that they're not. They believe that they've invested a lot in the youth, which actually they have. It's one thing I always give them a big tick. They've recruited a lot of 15, 16, 14, 17, 18-year-olds. We're doing it all the time. But how many of them are actually coming through? The proof is going to be in the pudding with that, because some of them are sort of 18, 19 now. And actually, if they are great youth talents, I've said this before, great youth talents start playing football at 17, 18, 19. We're not seeing enough of those. We're seeing Mason Greenwood, but we didn't purchase Mason Greenwood. He was part of the youth setup anyway. There's players from Spain, England, France, Holland that we've brought in that we're not really seeing anything of at the moment. So let's wait and see what happens with that. But they're very happy with what's going on. And, you know, the reality is the buzz from Manchester United is this. They're very happy with what's going on. They've got trust in the process. And it's almost like, you know what it is? It's a bit like a herd of organic sheep who think they're going off to the factory to have for the wool. They're smiling. They're great camaraderie. They're all chatting like Sean the sheep and his mates. They're having a right old good laugh in the lorry. They don't realise they're not going for the wool. They're going for their meat. But they think they're going to get shaved off. sell the wall, come back and we'll go and have a great run around in the field. They don't realise, actually, as happy as everybody is, you're heading straight to the slaughterhouse, to be blunt. That is what's going to happen. And that's what's happening with United. There is a lot of happiness. There is, you listen to McTominay, you listen to Pogba, you listen to everybody. Everybody's happy. Everyone's getting on really well. What did Rashford say after the Astana game the other night? He said, 2 years ago we would have lost that game against Astana. Like it was a big achievement to beat Astana 1-0. Oh, we'd have lost that game last year because... I mean, what a stupid comment. I don't think I've highlighted that comment enough. Marcus Rashford said 2 years ago we wouldn't have won that game. I don't know whether he said we'd lose it. He said we wouldn't have won that game. 2 years ago with Zlatan and Pogba and Martial and, Daley Blind and, the team that won the Europa League would not have beat Astana according to Marcus Rashford. But the reason he's saying that, in fairness to Rashford, is what he means is the togetherness in the squad is better than it was 2 years ago. That's his point. So what? I don't care if you go and play bloody Laser Quest with each other every night. I'm not bothered. Your togetherness doesn't matter how much mates you are because you're crap on the football pitch. I actually thought Rashford was saved by the injury yesterday. I thought it was one of his worst performances in a United shirt. I don't know what's wrong with the kid. I don't wish injury on anybody, but he needs a little bit of a break. And what he should do while he's let rest in his groin, because that's where he's injured, nothing sinister, is... he should start watching some of his videos of when he was good and compare them to now and start analysing. There was a point yesterday against West Ham where Aaron Wan-Bissaka put a brilliant cross in. The West Ham centre-back was moving to head it away and Marcus Rashford was stood still, waiting for the perfect... I mean, have you ever thought how hard it is for someone to cross across directly onto somebody's head when they don't move? We saw it against Southampton. Dan James put about 3 brilliant crosses in and Rashford didn't move for the front post. And I saw it yesterday with Wan-Bissaka. Brilliant cross comes in. The centre-back for West Ham is moving and goes to attack the ball. Marcus Rashford's behind him, basically Johnny on the spot, stood still. He doesn't move in the box. And I could move in the box. You could move in the box. Unless you've got a broken leg. I don't know your situation. I can't see you. But he doesn't move in the box. He's got so much to learn, that kid. But all we ever hear is the camaraderie is brilliant. And it doesn't actually mean anything. But, look. I'm Ollie in. A lot of you are Ollie in. And the good thing is that Manchester United Football Club are Ollie in. I don't believe they will sack him even if we are mid-table at Christmas. He will not be sacked. It would have to be bottom half. You know when Mourinho got sacked by Chelsea? He was champion at the time. He literally got sacked 4 months after being the champions of England. They were still the champions of England. And they sacked him just before Christmas and they're in the bottom half of the table. I think Manchester United would have to be that low. And I don't think we'll go that low. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will get the season. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll wait and find out. But the board are very happy with this situation. And they think that they're on the track to success. Unless they're selling the club and someone's coming in and spending $1 billion, I don't think we're anywhere near it. I really don't. But... that's just my theory. That's just my thoughts. There is some positive. Mason Greenwood is apparently going to sign a new 5-year contract. On the Rashford issue, he may well be out for a couple of weeks with a groin strain, maybe a little bit longer. And Dan James is more United than many others, says Ian Gatherkey. I think with Dan James and Marcus, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire, they're the 3 most players that we've got at the moment. My 7-year fiance just cheated on me yesterday and Manchester United's let me down time and time again. I can't handle the heartbreak, says the Mexican-American MUFC. Oh, that doesn't sound good, does it? Give him some support in the live comments. And Shaky Jakey 5 says, Mark, have you seen the video of Jones saying sacked in the morning behind Ed? And Ed replies to him, stop it, we're on camera. I've seen it. To be honest with you, Matic undermines the manager after the Southampton game and was captain, last week. So I don't think it matters what context Phil Jones said it. He probably was just repeating what people were singing, to be honest. But I don't think it's going to do any major harm. I think, you know what? Before we start taking some of your calls, actually, I don't think I communicated this properly on my sort of moan this morning. And if you haven't watched that moan this morning, it's very... thanks for all the feedback, because what I basically did is I went through all the positives and negatives and argued them all. And I think I think a lot of people took that on board, so that was good. But I'm just going to throw this sentence out. The problem with Manchester United at the moment is that the manager we appointed isn't the manager we appointed. And what I mean by that is when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was appointed, we knew the best 11, we knew the philosophy, we knew the vision, and we were excited, and he deserved to get the job. The minute he got the job, He's gone to two centre defensive midfielders. We don't know the best 11 and we don't know the philosophy. What Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to do is just go back to the manager that got the job. Go back to what you were doing when you got the job, because you're not doing it now. And I don't care what anybody says. So somebody said to me today, he's just been found out, he's doing exactly the same. He's not. His formations are totally different. Sometimes when he was doing well, he had the 4-1-2-1-2, like a 4-4-2 diamond. And most of the time it was a 4-3-3. He's not doing either of those things anymore. He does a 4-2-3-1 and he plays very defensive. And in a sentence, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing at the moment, he's playing not to lose. He's not playing to win. When he first came in, he was playing to win. And he had nothing to lose then. He never expected to get the Manchester United job. He had a dream ticket. He came over from Norway. Mulder he was going to be going back to. It was a caretaker job. There was no pressure. The season was over when Mourinho was sacked. The fan base was happy Mourinho had gone. Ole is a legend, and it was just about feel-good factor. And he came in with no pressure and had no pressure, no consequences, and just went out there and won everything for 3 months and was brilliant. Then he got the job. Then the pressure came on because he had to get top 4, and he blew it, and he got knocked out of the Champions League, and he stopped playing without fear. Ever since he got the job, he's been playing not to lose. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to switch the switch and say, look, as we've all said, Ole, you're going to get the sack. If you carry on down this route, you're getting the sack. It's not about being Ole out. You will get the sack, mate. You can't play like you're playing at the moment. You can't play like you've been playing since March, playing not to lose, with experienced Deadwood. You know, you either go back to what got you the job and you give yourself a chance and we build something, or you continue down this route, you're playing not to lose. I mean, going to West Ham and playing not to lose. That loss yesterday was worse than Mourinho's West Ham loss a year ago, by the way, I've got to admit. So, and that's what he's doing. At the moment, if you ever want to talk to anybody who says what's going on at United, just say this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has stopped from playing with freedom and playing to win. He's now scared and he's playing to lose. That's what he's doing. That's his tactics. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple. He's learning from Mourinho, seriously, says Jeremy Johnson. Why do people want Wenger? I've seen that time and time again. Ollie in, Woodward out, says Niall Buckley. I mean, how you do that, I don't know. No way, 4 managers getting it all completely wrong. Look at the board. Come on, denominator here, says David King. I agree with you, mate. And Ollie's just too soft. He needs to man up ASAP, says Cameron Jr. It's so very difficult to say that, though. I mean, you know, that's not really a term I like, man up, because it has connotations with sort of mental health and everything. Obviously, it doesn't in relation to that statement. I just don't like that particular wording. But, you know, whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to toughen up with the squad or not, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know whether he's kicking buckets and swearing at people in the dressing room. So it's difficult to say that. But what I think he does need to do is go back to playing how he played in the first 3 months. We're not doing that. It's like he's been given the job and he's changed who he is. It's like he was Pep Guardiola to get the job and now he's Mourinho. And obviously we weren't playing like Pep. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is we were a totally different style of football when he didn't have the job and he was caretaker. Since he's had the job, he's gone very defensive. Shahin Alvis says, hey pal, we need to be done with Rashford through the middle. He doesn't have the movement or IQ to play there. Left wing, forward or bench for me. Yeah, I agree. But as we know, the options are actually not that big, are they? To be honest with you, we don't have loads of options. Mark, what has Ali done to convince you to be Ollie in? Says Milk Magnesia. I mean, that's a great question, and I don't mind taking difficult questions, and hopefully people will call in and say what they really think when we start taking the calls in a moment. I do get asked this. Look, there's a consistency with me. Despite some dickheads on social media saying that I'm Ollie out for clout chasing or whatever like that, I don't know why people... You know, it's just the world we live in. People make stuff up, don't they? Oh, that Goldbridge is the problem with his Ollie out. I'm not Ollie out. And anybody who's been watching this show for over a year will know that I was one of the last people to be Mourinho out. A lot of you were quite rightly Mourinho out after Sevilla in the previous March in the Champions League. A lot of you said, that's it, he's got to go. And I stuck with him over the summer and I said, I'm going to give him this season. And it was actually West Ham last year where I went, right, now that's it, he's got to go, I've had enough. So I was very late with the Jose out thing. I was quite early with LVG. I was very early with Moyes. I never wanted him in the first place. So if you're asking me why I'm not Ollie out, I actually would say it's quite early to go Ollie out anyway. If you are, that's fine. That's up to you. But it would be very early for me. If you look at my track record, I'm not going to be Ollie out at this early stage. I still believe... I really like him. He is a legend of the club. And I liked what he did in the first 3 months. So I still think, he could just suddenly flick a switch and go back to what he was doing at the start. And I think that's what I'm waiting to see if he's going to do. If he doesn't do it, then obviously I'm going to be Ollie out at some point, because he is going to get the sack. The way things are going, he's going to get the sack. I always say this, and I said it to Flex today, because Flex is very pro Ollie, which is great. And I said, my fear is if he doesn't change drastically and go back to how he was, he will get the sack, because you name me a manager who turns it round or has turned it round when it's going bad. I said the same with Mourinho. When it starts to go bad, there's not really a manager out there that's had a really bad run that turns it round. There's people who've had a bad run at the start and turned it around, but Ollie's already had the good run. Drop. Is he going to come back? I think he can do, but it's going to be very, very difficult. The odds aren't with him. Name me a caretaker manager who's been given the job full time and is successful. There isn't really anybody. So the odds are massively stacked up against him, and I agree with that. But I'm not Ollie out, because it's just not right. It's too early. It's not time. But he is making a lot of mistakes. And also there is a stubborn element, which I've said before, so I'm not going to bore you. There is a stubbornness to me that sacking another manager, even though he might deserve it, it just doesn't really do anything when you've got another board. I mean, the only thing that could solve this would be sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, appointing someone like Zidane, and Zidane saying, I'm only going to take the job if you give me 500 million, and United writing the cheque as he walks in the door. And they're never going to do that, are they? They're never going to do that. Joe Holdway, the three best players this season, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire and James. Surely with another couple of windows, Ollie will have a squad he actually wants. You know what, on that, Joe, I just want to say, if Gary Neville and everybody are so confident about the process and patience at Manchester United. Gary Neville said on his podcast on Sky that United need 2 midfielders, an attacker, a right winger and a left back. That's 5 players, right? And that's what we need now. So everybody who says, well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did well in the summer, he did. But what we're going to need in a year's time, we already need 5 positions now. I'll guarantee you in a year's time we'll need a couple more. They wasted that summer. They didn't bring enough players in. So why are we talking about patience when patience is dependent on a board that doesn't spend money spending money? 5 players is going to cost at least 300 million. They ain't going to spend that money. So this is what irritates me. Everyone's talking about patience, but everybody knows we need to spend money. But then we've got owners who don't like spending money. So it's sort of counterproductive, isn't it? Joe Wing Daniel says, Ollie's in a crap sandwich, a crap board and a crap senior players. The players he's bought are our top players. I'm Ollie in, but him and any replacements can't be truly judged unless backed 100% in the market, which is basically what I just said there. Spot on, Joe in. Sean Bordner, Rashford's doing better than Ronaldo was at his age. Not saying he will be as good as him, but he's got talent. I think he has too much pressure for 21 years of age. I'd like to check that, mate. I'd really like to check that, because I can't remember. I think Ronaldo at 21 was streets ahead. I think Ronaldo at 9 was better than Rashford, but there you go. RV777 says, we need to utilise our players better, use Lindelof as a CDM and Twansibi and Maguire at centre-back. This will give us more defensive stability and allow us to have 2 number 8s with Pogba and Fred McTominay. Ray Cowley says, Ollie now has the manager, but again, as with previous, has his back to the wall due to the board. He's fighting to make United great again, also the board. Bab Academy says, Mark, do me a favour, understand that Ollie will get the sack before Christmas. Ollie is acting scared by choosing Matic and Mata and Trashford. I agree with you, he's acting scared. He's playing not to lose and not to win instead of trying to win. And Friedman220 says, I'm so angry after that statement. It is absolutely criminal that a club like Manchester United hire a manager from Mulder. Says it all. Yes, man, they could bully. Ollie's a man they could bully. Please do smash a like on the video. We're about to start taking some of your calls. What I would say is this. I love Paul Pogba. I think he's massively important to our season. I've said it absolutely time and time again. And I said if he gets injured, we're going to be in trouble. What a surprise. He's been injured. We've been in trouble. But, this board that talks about investment, that talks about focus on winning titles, you've just reminded me of something. The Paul Pogba scenario. Apparently we're not about commercialism and we're not about players. It actually said in the statement, we're not about signing players for commercial value. We know we're very successful at business side of things, but our priority is on the pitch. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. Paul Pogba is a prime example of that. Paul Pogba wanted to leave Manchester United. We could have got between 100 and 150 million pounds for him. We could have spent that on 2 midfielders and we could have started building a vision. What did we do? We forced a player that wanted to go to stay because of his commercial value. There is no justification in keeping Paul Pogba at Manchester United this season. I like Pogba. I actually agreed with him wanting to go. He wanted to go because the marriage hadn't worked. 3 years. He came to the club in the Europa League. 3 years later, he's back in the Europa League. It's not worked. On his part and our part, it didn't work. He wanted to go. He was valued at around 150 million. Real Madrid would have paid that. They would have paid that, but we never opened the door to negotiate. We didn't open the door to negotiate because we didn't want to sell him. We didn't want to sell him because of his commercial value, which flies straight in the wind of that nonsense statement that Manchester United have put out. And anybody who comes back on me on that, Paul Pogba doesn't want to be here. He's done it in a very respectable way. He doesn't want to be here. Why would you build a team around a player that doesn't want to be here that's definitely going to go in a year's time? It's commercial value. It's about retaining a commercial value. It was if this club was really focused on being successful on the pitch, they would have sold Paul Pogba in the summer. They would have gone out and bought 2 midfielders, 3 midfielders because Herrera went. They would have gone and replaced Lukaku and Sanchez. And they would have given our manager a fair crack at being successful. They haven't. They've lumbered him with a player that doesn't really want to be here but will be professional but has been inconsistent. He's got no midfield. It's the worst midfield we've ever had in Premier League history. And the club come out with a silly statement about having their priorities in being successful on the pitch. Who do you think United fans are? Do you think they're thick? Like, seriously, it's a joke. Right, take a breath, and take a call. I've had my say. Smash a like on the video. Let's get your opinions on it. Have a drink of water as well. Bada boom, bada bing. Here we go. We've had a super chat. Ronaldo at 21 had 21 Premier League goals. Rashford's got 29 Premier League goals, says Sean Boardner. So, look, I tell you what, I didn't want to bury people on this, right? I'm old enough. I've seen all of Rashford's career, and I saw Ronaldo on his bloody debut against Bolton. I'm telling you now, Ronaldo, if you're saying about goals, Lukaku had more Premier League goals at 24, I think, than Ronaldo did. If you're judging players on bloody goals, you're a clown. You're an absolute clown. Ronaldo at 21 was streets ahead of Rashford. And you're an absolute fool if you think not. I'm sorry. Come up with a better argument. Yeah, Rashford's better than Welbeck. I'll buy on that. Rashford's never been on the same page as Ronaldo, even when Ronaldo was 4. I'm knocking it back from 9. We need to utilise our players better, use Lindelof, CDM and Twansibi and Maguire centre-back. This will give us more defensive stability. I've read that comment. Why has that come up again? I don't know. Shavish Singh says, every game I tune in hoping we at least start moving in the right direction, but it's pointless now. We just need to see progress, but we are just regressing. Apparently, I'm looking forward to the Rochdale game because apparently Pogba and Martial will be playing to get a bit of fitness in their legs, and you would imagine Mason Greenwood will play as well, which of course is a good thing. Right, I've got people waiting in the call queue. Let's take our first call. Hello, can you hear me?
And I'm just saying, like, fan diversity too.
You're live on the United Stand, mate.
Fans around the world.
Hello.
So, oh, hey there.
How you doing, pal? You all right?
Doing just fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. What do you want to talk about?
I just want to talk about some ideas that maybe I had as an American. Just, what we can do with United. I think first of all, I think Ollie should be given time. I think that's the one problem that we have had, is that we haven't given him enough time and enough. We've kind of already shut the door on him a little bit, especially after this loss this weekend. And I think that we could do a lot of things with younger American players. If you see Timothy Weah played at PSG, he's now I think at Lille, and he's a great striker. And I think we could really use him. He's very, very young. Also, Weston McKennie, who's a defensive midfielder at Schalke. I think what we could do with him, if we keep Pogba, is we can put Pogba in his natural role as a cam or a true center mid, and then put Weston McKennie at CDM. He's been very bright for the U.S. national team as a big leader. He's captained the U.S. national team in some friendlies, and I really think that he's the true defensive midfielder that we should really look towards. Also, I think that the only way that we could really be saved, a very quick solution, is if we go to Turin and beg Cristiano Ronaldo to come back.
Yeah, I mean, look, what I would say about that is we do have a lot of youth players that are very talented that we've brought in. It's just whether we're going to use them. Paul Pogba will not be here in a year anyway, so there's no point in building a team around him. And
I agree.
And with regards to Ollie and time, I think time, I do agree with you on that. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does need time, but he'll only get so much time. And he's got to change what he's doing, because if he keeps picking the team he did yesterday, because a lot of what you're talking about is, youth players from America or whether it's our youth players, giving him time, etc. At
Right.
the moment, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is prioritising not losing to West Ham by picking experienced players like Matic and Mata. If he continues down that path, he ain't going to get much time.
I think Matic and Mata both peaked at Chelsea, and we're only picking them for their experience, and I think that's terrible to do. And I think that also at the same time, it's too soon in the season to cut our losses and start playing all of the youth players just because we need to develop. I think we still may have a fighting chance. It's still a pretty decently tight race to get back into. I mean, we're 8th right now, the Europa League, maybe even the Champions League if we figure out how to turn it around, especially after January. But I think that, I think we just need time. And also, I want to issue a call to all American United fans. As someone who was born May 26, 1999 on the treble, I just want to say that we need to go to Tampa Bay, and we need to, if we're going to protest the Glazers, it's got to be at their home field, and that's where they are. So we have to go, show them that American fans are United fans are worldwide, and have a big presence in America, and that's may help us a little bit. I also don't think that they're just going to quit just to quit because they're so in debt, but I think as the years go by, ever since 2005, they're doing all this, financial garbage, playing this Moneyball game that's not built for English soccer and not going to work in English soccer. I think it's time to, maybe change the approach a little bit. I wonder if it's too far gone for that.
Well, it might well be, but it's an idea, isn't it? Thanks for calling in, pal. Really appreciate it.
Of course, glad to be on.
Cheers, mate. Right, let's get another caller straight on as well. Hello, you're live on the United Stand. Can you hear me?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Are you?
Yeah, good.
What do you want to talk about, mate?
For me, I want to talk about this current situation where it feels like a start of a narrative where people are discussing Ollie out, and for me, it's a warning to United fans. So I appreciate there's a lot of people who are annoyed. I'm annoyed. You're annoyed about the whole situation, but there's one person and one person only that we should be focusing our blame and attack on: Ed Woodward. We knew from the get-go that this squad was not good enough for this league. Yet we're expecting the manager to pull out miracles in this case. Jose Mourinho failed. Louis van Gaal failed. These were world-class managers. The consistent theme here is Ed Woodward. Everybody say Ed Woodward out. Forget this Ollie thing, because just sacking him and getting another manager is not going to do anything. It's going to be the same old thing again. It'll be the same old tune that the board wants to peddle us every single time. It's too easy to blame the manager. Blame above that. And I'm saying, get the banners out. Literally show some embarrassment to the Glazers by calling Ed Woodward out. Live at the games, on social media, etc. I get the football's not brilliant at this moment in time, but if we're saying that the players aren't good enough, then why are we expecting us to do great things? Why are you expecting the manager to do great things? We all have a duty, just like yourself, to not focus in on the manager. Focus above that. We have an obligation, if we really believe and love this club, to tackle the man that's the problem. Forget about Sky Sports. Forget about other fan channels and anything like that. Focus on the real problem, Ed Woodward.
I totally agree. And it's basically what I said at the start of the season. I think well, if you've listened to me for any time, you'll know I don't think things are black and white. I always think there's grey areas in the middle. What I would say is, I don't want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be sacked before Ed Woodward's sacked. I've said that a million times because you just repeat it. It's wash and rinse and repeat. I know he's had, like you say, he's appointed a lot of managers, and he spent £900 million. He's appointed 4 managers, and if Ole gets sacked, then that's 4 failures, a £900 million failure. Any other person in any other area of business would be sacked. The reason he won't be sacked, though, just so everybody understands this, he won't be sacked because he makes the Glazers so much money. Manchester United makes so much money. The problem is we're a football club, and we are obviously driven by results on the pitch because that's what we love. But Manchester United are bigger than a football club. Manchester United are a beast of a money-making machine. And these bollocks statements that come out about us being focused on what's going on the pitch. It's nonsense. They bought us on debt and they make millions and millions and millions of pounds every month off us. Ed Woodward is a facilitator of that. He's brilliant at making the Glazers rich. So they will never sack him because he makes them rich. If we really were focused on what was going on the pitch, they'd have sacked him years ago because he's not very good at what he's doing. So it is very, very difficult because we are owned by people who worship the ground Ed Woodward walks on because he makes them so much money. And then they put out statements pretending that they're focused about what's going on the pitch. If they were focused, and look, Ed Woodward's probably a really nice guy here. I'm not, it's never personal. It's about what's going on the pitch. Ed Woodward should have been sacked because he's appointed 4 managers and 3 of them have had to be sacked. He spent loads of money and we're playing Jesse Lingard up front. The club's in a mess. And if you're the chief executive of any business that's failing like that over 6 years and you've made big decisions, that statement, if you've got to fall on your sword, is made for people like that. So I agree with you. He should go. But the problem is, and we've got to be very realistic about this, he won't go anywhere. He's just not going to go anywhere. I don't think. I don't know whether he's still there. I think I've depressed him. He's totally disappeared. But yeah, look, it was a very, very good point. Maybe just wanted to make his point and go. But he ain't going to go anywhere. And with regards to Ollie, though, what I would say is I totally agree with that point about the bigger issue at Manchester United because it does need restructuring. I was talking about this morning. You know what? United and the Glazers, they could still sort it out. I mean, I don't think they're going to sell, and I don't think Woodward's going to go anywhere. So you're not going to force them out, so you've just got to hope they're going to change. And maybe they will listen and maybe they will change because that's the only hope we've got. And if they did that and in 3 years' time we win a title, I'd say fair play. We all would. We all just want to be happy. All of us just want to be happy. With regards to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and whether he should be above criticism and we should just focus on the board, well, look, maybe we should do that. But what I would say is we're never going to just do that. We're never going to see a result like West Ham and go, you pick Matic and Mata, mate, because we're going to focus on the board. He shouldn't have picked Matic and Mata yesterday. That's why Ollie's in trouble today. And that's not why people are saying Ollie should be sacked. But in that isolated game yesterday, and every game this season, he's been playing not to lose instead of trying to win games. And yesterday was a shambles. For any manager, it wouldn't matter if Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge yesterday, he would have got stick. And Sir Alex Ferguson did used to get stick from fans after some games. For team selections, the way he's gone about it, because that's just fan culture. It doesn't matter whether you're the greatest manager there's ever been or David Moyes. If you get it wrong, you will get criticised by fans afterwards because it's an entertainment business. So I think Ollie does deserve some criticism at the moment, but yeah, I think it's like he's down there and the board's up there. That's how I feel about it. Woodward is a specialist in failure. Woodward out. Glazers out, says Paddy O'Neill. Where is the director of football, says Broad Mons. I mean, I think that we might appoint a director of football very, very soon. That could be their get out of jail. This is only a theory of mine. I've not heard anything, but my theory is that Manchester United are going to appoint a director of football very, very soon because it buys time for Ollie, it buys time for Glazers, it buys time for Woodward. If they appoint a director of football very soon, we've all wanted a director of football, probably more than we want a striker, because we feel a director of football is the holy grail and everything's going to change. It won't. If that director of football is a puppet on a string for the Glazers, then he's just a front man to cover them again, a bit like Ollie is. But I suspect we'll get a director of football before Christmas because then it will buy everybody time. We might lose to Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, and we might be in the bottom half of the table. But if you appoint a director of football, we'll all go, yeah, we're sorted. And we might not be, but I think that will happen soon. Jordan Such, you'll be surprised at the quality of player that wants to come to this club. 6 games in, Matic still CDM, Young still playing, Lingard up front yesterday. It's a farce. Youth on the bench, Mata plays for 80 minutes. It's a joke. I did think that was disgusting yesterday, by the way. I'm going to take another call now. But I agree, Jordan. I did think that was disgusting. There were so many things yesterday that you forget some things. And I did think that was just disgusting yesterday. That Angel Gomez didn't come on until the last 10 minutes. And Juan Mata, who was shit from minute 1 to minute 80, stayed on for 80 minutes when he can only play 60 when he's playing well. Shockingly shit is what I called yesterday's performance. I'm sorry to swear, but it really, really was. Let's see if we can get Amar on. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi Mark, I can hear you.
How you doing, mate? You alright?
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, mate. What do you want to talk about?
Similar to the last call, I'm afraid. I'm worried that we're going to start looking too short-sighted all of a sudden, and instead of sort of now sort of like fighting through this sticky period and staying with the manager, I feel like we're going to sort of abandon everything that we've kind of come to know that is the reason why we're failing. Too much has gone wrong. We've spent all summer criticising the board where we've gone wrong. We've not spent enough. We've not recruited the right number of players. And now all of a sudden we're sort of expecting, with the same squad, with the same players, we're now expecting like the manager to turn water into wine. It's like these are the same players that have failed previous managers. That doesn't mean you can't criticise Ollie.
Yeah, I was just going to say about that.
He can be criticised for.
I was just asking you a question on that, just to play devil's advocate there. I think the problem is, I agree with you. I agree that, I was one of those people very vocal that we're not going to do well this season. But I never expected us to finish below 6th. And I think that squad should be finishing. I don't think we should finish top 4. I said it. We'll probably finish 5th or 6th. And I said if we get 4th, Ollie deserves a statue. Yeah. The problem is, if we finish mid-table, I think Ollie will get criticised because we're not that bad, even without the spending.
And probably rightly so. But we are still at phase 1 or ground zero. This whole.
No, let me see if I can get it back. It's playing up a bit tonight. It's playing up a little bit tonight. It is playing up a little bit tonight. That's the second quarter we've lost after a certain period of time. Let's see if he drops back in, which is annoying. Because he probably won't now. I was interested in that story, you see, because we're at ground zero. And I was wondering how many floors we were going to get. Could have been like the Tower in Inferno that's got like over 50. Could have been like 50 stages of madness. But is he going to come back? I can't see him. I'll tell you what, we'll go to the live comments, then we'll have a look. Can the fans hypothetically overthrow the owners, says H. Bang. Yes. You can hypothetically overthrow the government. You can hypothetically do a lot of things. But yeah, look, you know what? I'm not going to tell you what to do, because that's not what the United Stand's ever been about. It's a fan forum for everybody to have their say. I just present it and I get to have my say, and you get to agree with it or not. I'm not trying to dictate what you do. Can the fans hypothetically overthrow the owners? Yes. Because if Old Trafford was empty on Wednesday night and empty on Monday, they'd probably be gone by it in a week. If every Manchester United fan in the world stopped buying Manchester United products, they'd probably be gone in a month. Or they'd probably appoint a director of football and spend 400 million next summer. You can force the hand of these people, but you will never force the hand of these people. And thanks for the contribution, Akash Singh Pahar. Hypothetically, you could remove any owner of any club, because Arsenal have the same problem. They don't like their owners at all. You can hypothetically do it. You've got to have an empty stadium for 2 or 3 games. You've got to stop all, or at least 50% of their revenue streams every month from merchandise. Sponsors have got to walk away. But in many ways, you're damaging your own club to force people out. That's what you're doing. The club will probably get into money difficulties. And the risk with that is the Glazers probably don't even support this football club. So they probably just think, well, I bought it on debt anyway, let it go to ruin. They could be really stubborn about it. They could just go, well, we bought this club on debt. We've made all the money we need. If the fans think they're going to force us out by cutting our revenue streams, we'll let the club go bankrupt and fold. So it could be a risk. But that's a scenario that's never going to happen, because you will never stop United fans going to Old Trafford. You will never stop United fans buying shirts. I saw people in the summer who were vocally going on about Glazers out and marching and this, that and the other. And then a month later, I love the new gold kit. I love the new kit. And they're buying all 3 for them and the kids. And you think, this is why I would never say do all that, because you just know what human nature is. They don't even understand what they're doing. Or they do, and they just think, well, me buying a shirt won't make any difference. These are all hypothetical things. I'm not telling people to do these, by the way. I have got the new United red shirt. I bought it in May when it came out. But and my daughter wants the black one for her birthday, which is in 2 weeks. So, But hypothetically, of course it can happen. Mike Pelfrey says, I'm not supporting the Glazers as they are sucking us dry, but let's be fair, they have spent nearly $1 billion since Fergie, but it's been mishandled by Ed, and whatever his system is, it's him. Mark Pelfrey, can I just give you a virtual slap on the back there? I think he makes a very good point there. A very good point that we all probably want to ignore. We have nearly spent 900 million since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, and it's only been 6 years. You know, that's what's 9 into 6. It's about 150 million, isn't it? 150 million every summer. 900 million. And what you look at what we've got now, basically Pogba, Luke Shaw, obviously the signings we've made, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and James, but we've wasted well over 70% of that money. And there is, you know, the Glazers don't sign players and the Glazers don't recruit managers. You know, they don't know anything about football. So whoever's the people who make those decisions are accountable. And you make a very, very good point. A very, very good point that 900 million should have been spent a lot better than it is. So you can moan about the Glazers, of course you can. But I always say about the Glazers, if you're going to moan about the Glazers, you should be moaning about the Glazers in 2008 when we won the league and the Champions League, because they were in charge then. I've never liked them in being in charge of our club because they bought it on debt and they don't support our football club. So I've never liked them. But I've never really been Glazers out, get the gold and yellow scarf out, gold and green scarf out. Gold and yellow wouldn't work. You'd look like a Lincoln fan. Yeah, because I just don't like them as our owners, and I've always said that I don't like it. But there are mitigating circumstances that they have put a lot of money into the club. They've took more out, but they have put money in, and 900 million should have been spent far better than it was. You don't boycott sponsors, you just don't buy season tickets and empty stadium, says TXN. And West Ham are a good season, so just chill everyone. Yeah, shut up. I'm sorry to be disrespectful, but that ain't going to make me end the show on a high. West Ham are good this season, so we may as well, you know, it's not too bad. Yeah, bollocks. Well, Manchester United, God almighty. The amount of times I've said that. Do you believe the board will follow through with the statement in the January and summer transfer window with the heavy investments? Ravi, Howard, what heavy investments are you talking about here? I haven't heard the board say they're going to spend a penny in January. All I would say to everybody is, because I don't want you to end up being disappointed, like I was gutted this summer because I actually said, we'll spend 200 million. We'll spend 200 million. Remember that article from ESPN saying United won't spend more than 100 million? It was around the start of June, and I was like, bollocks. Absolute bollocks. Ollie himself has said they're going to buy quality players that you'd be surprised about. The club has said they've got money to spend. Load of bollocks. I really thought we were going to spend 200 million. I was convinced we were going to sign 2 midfielders, and we didn't do any of those things. So anybody who's holding out for January spending or next summer spending, all I would say is, why would you think that? Because last summer was meant to be the big summer, and we spent 60 million quid net. So now I've got no trust in them doing what needed to be done. I'm disgusted by this football club, and I don't know how involved Ollie is, so I'm going to give him a free pass. But if he is involved in it, I'd be closer to Ollie out than I am at the moment because I'm Ollie in. But if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was part of the decision not to sign a midfielder this summer, he's mad. Because I prefer the story that the board didn't deliver him any midfielders and allowed us to go into a season on a wish and a prayer with the weakest midfield we've ever had in the Premier League era and probably the weakest attack we've had in the Premier League era, and expect us not to be where we are now. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Ollie could have put a better team out against West Ham yesterday, by the way. He could have played Fred instead of Matic. He could have put Pereira inside and put Lingard on the right. Or he could have played Gomez and put Lingard on the right or put Pereira there. He could have played a better team yesterday. It still might have lost to West Ham. I'm not saying it wouldn't have lost to West Ham, but if it had he'd lost to West Ham yesterday with Fred and Gomez, or Fred, Pereira and Lingard. If he'd have lost to West Ham with that team, we wouldn't be moaning as much now. We would be totally focused on the summer. But because he picked Mata and Matic, he didn't pick the best team he could have done, and he went very defensive, so he's getting criticism. But the reality is, he's still doing it with the weakest midfield we've ever had in the Premier League and the weakest attack we've ever had in the Premier League, because the club didn't spend any bloody money on it. Nick P says, this is subjective, but I remember when we signed Cantona, I was 14. It felt like a huge moment for the club. It might take something similar today. Let's face it, the owners are going nowhere. We've got to believe that the club are going to get it right. Jed Mitchell, Ollie is too nice. Poch to come in and be ruthless. He's done good at Spurs with very little money, which will suit the Glazers. P.S. I love my hun, Nicola Russell. What a nice... Not Nicola, you must be very happy. Nicola Russell, not Nicola. Haradvin Balachandran says, I think Ollie needs to stop protecting the youth, do what Lampard is doing and consistently play Greenwood, Gomez, Chong, Twansibi. They are future and they need to grow. Well, Shearer said it on Match of the Day last night, and he's only repeating what we've been saying on here. There was this talk about Ollie doesn't want to risk the youth, but what's the risk? Shearer said this. What's the risk? Could they have done any worse than what those players did yesterday? But at least if they did do as bad, they're going to get better as they get more experience. They could not have done any worse than Matic and Matty yesterday. And can I just say, by the way, so I didn't think Scott McTominay was very good yesterday. And I've told you time and time again, I think Scott McTominay is sold by the club as this great, big, established player. I actually think in an ideal world, McTominay wouldn't be playing every game. McTominay would be like Gomez and Greenwood. He'd be on the bench, he'd play a little bit, then he'd be off the bench because he's ridiculously inconsistent. He was dreadful against Palace and Wolves. He was brilliant against... I think he was good against Southampton. He was good against Leicester. Yesterday he was probably average. But McTominay's very inconsistent because he's still a young player. But we're having to play him every week like he's Mr. Established, and he's not. He isn't. And this is what I mean. It's the weakest midfield we've ever had. Poor Scott McTominay doesn't have the protection to be developed. He's just got to play every game like he's Mr. Established. And he is going to have bad games and he's going to have good games. But actually, we can't rest him. We can't give him a bit of time on the bench. We've got to keep playing him and playing him because we didn't bring players in. Hamilton Nokola says, it's not the players' fault. They play to their potential. They just aren't good enough. We hope Rashi and J-Ling perform like Scholes and Rooney. It ain't happening. It's never happening with Lingard, to be fair. I think Rashford has still got the potential. He just needs to sort himself out. Not to be Ronaldo. KBMO, Mark, can you hazard a guess as to why Rashford's form has deteriorated so much? Would it have something to do with his massive contract? Look, I like Rashford. I do like Rashford. I think he totally deserves all the criticism because it's an entertainment business. It's not personal. It's just he ain't playing very well. And he hasn't been playing well for 8 months now. About 8 months. My theory is that he's been delivered as the finished article by the club. And it's not necessarily his fault. He shouldn't be given the number 10 shirt. And he shouldn't be given the contract that he was given. And it's almost like he thinks... He's almost acting like he's made it. And he's still miles off. He could be a brilliant player. I've always liked him. Rashford and Martial for a long time were my two favourite players at United. And Rashford even more so because he epitomises what this club's all about. He's come through the youth setup. But over the last 8 months, I just don't know. I don't know what... There's an unfair amount of people who sort of do say that Rashford's very arrogant, Lingard effect, etc., etc. Which isn't helped by the fact that he's always on free kicks, trying to take them like Ronaldo. He's just not. He's just a long way from the finished article. But we present him as the finished article. He wears the number 10 shirts. He's Marcus Rashford of Manchester United, the big superstar. He's not the finished article. It's like I would liken Rashford to, chiseling out and polishing a new diamond. You're halfway there, and you know it's going to be a really expensive, rare diamond. But it's still a little bit dirty. It still needs chiseling out and shaping. We've done half a job. We've got half a diamond, and then we're going to put it in the shop window and go look at our beautiful diamond. And it isn't finished. It's not the finished article, and that's the problem with Rashford. Because he's not the finished article, but he's presented as the finished article, he gets exposed with... Well, there was a situation yesterday where Marcus Rashford was running down the left-hand side. He gets away from the West Ham defence. All he's got to do is get the ball out of his feet and sprint straight to goal, and he'll get a shot off. He sprints towards goal. It gets stuck under his feet. The West Ham defender covers it. Second half, right near the end, Dan James is in exactly the same situation. Gets the ball out of his feet, gets the shot off into the side netting. Like... Rashford, crosses comes in, he's not moving. Crosses come in across the front post, he's not moving. Shoots from free kicks, most of them are like a balloon over the bar. We actually say it's a good free kick if it's near the target or the keeper saves it. He has the potential to be a fantastic player, but he's just not the finished article. I don't actually know why that is. I don't know why it is, but I think the club have got a big problem with it, and I think Ollie contributes to it as well. I think Ollie tries to build his confidence by, talking about him, Rashi this, Rashi that. Tough love is probably what he needs. He probably did need dropping, but you can't drop a player when you've got nobody else to play. Like, he shouldn't have played against Astana, but we didn't really have anybody else to play because Martial's injured. One injury and we're fucked, basically. We've seen it. Pogba's out, the midfield's dead. Martial's out, the attack's dead. You're relying on... And then remember, you know what? Dan James has been brilliant. But what did we say in the summer? We said there shouldn't be any pressure on Dan James. He's come from the Championship. He's only 21. There's an adjustment period. Use him off the bench and let him build in gradually. He's actually probably one of our number one starters now. The pressure on Dan James is actually massive because he is the number one performance. Zoting TV, love you, Mark, but thanks to everyone who wanted Lukaku gone. Fool's okay. Lukaku touch is bad, but he's not flipping messy. Poor from Ollie to depend on Rashi. Thanks for the contribution, Zoting TV. I actually disagree with you on that, even though you were nice in the comments. I do disagree with you on that because I think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think he's right to sell Sanchez and Lukaku. If you're the manager and you want to get rid of two players because they don't fit your style and you sell them and then you end up within a striking crisis, you're not wrong for selling them. You've been let down the board for not replacing them. He wanted rid of them. He was right to get rid of them. To keep them just because you're not going to get investment. I think Ollie's done the right thing there. I think that is something you can exclusively blame the board for. Ollie is right to get rid of Rashford and Lukaku and Sanchez. The board have let him down by not bringing a replacement in. So I wouldn't keep Lukaku just because we're missing him now. I think it was the right decision to let him go. But it's the board's fault we're suffering. Jordan Such says, I was watching the match yesterday and thinking to myself, De Gea really did sign up to stay with this crap. For him to stay when no one would have blamed him for leaving shows he loves the love he has for the club. Yeah, he might not be the brightest guy, but yeah, he does show he loves the club. And Nick P says, when it's not going well for himself, Rashford tries too hard, runs too hard, hogs the ball, which begs the question, is he listening to advice or not? I mean, I think you're right there. He does hold on to the ball too much and he does try to make things happen too much, which at the highest level, you can't always do that. You've got to give and go. And Abhinav says, I think Rashford is lacking confidence. We have seen how good he can be. We need to stop hating on a 21-year-old kid. No one has patience anymore in football. You're right and you're wrong. Abhinav, you're right and you're wrong. I want Rashford to come good and I believe he can do. In fact, Rashford and Solskjaer are quite similar. Manager, player. Both massively underperforming. Both are loved by the fans. Both are sort of frustrating the fans at the moment. And both can be very, very successful. They're very, very similar. What I would say is Rashford and Ollie from March, Rashford from March, have been ridiculously bad. They've been ridiculously bad, and it's an entertainment business, and they deserve the criticism. We're right to criticism. We're right to criticise them. I don't think we're right to write them off. I think they can come back, but they've both got to take accountability. Ollie and Rashford have both got to take accountability, work hard, take on board what they're doing wrong, and get back to where they need to be. And I believe both can. But I think both deserve criticism at the moment because they're not performing to the levels that their Manchester United manager and striker should be. And they deserve the criticism. So I don't like it, I'll stop hating on them because a lot of it's not hate, it's constructive criticism, it's frustration, it's disappointment. And they are right. But I do believe that they can get back and they do need encouragement. But they need to show us signs of encouragement. Neither are doing that at the moment. Ollie can show us signs of encouragement by stop going with experienced Deadwood and going with a vision, and Rashford can show us encouragement by stop trying to do too much, making intelligent runs, there's things that just show us some positivity and we'll be fine. Anyway, we spoke for ages. Please do smash a like on the video. We're over 1,000 likes, which is great. Sorry for the caller. I don't know what the issues were. We'll look into that and we'll try and get another call in this week to compensate for that. Loads of good comments as per ever. Zed Jamie, I hope you've got FIFA 20, by the way. I saw you on Twitter today saying you're looking forward to playing it. I think it's out for tomorrow. I just want to say finally, Michael James says bring in Ryan Giggs. I just want to say, look, we had Rio on yesterday briefly for a fan cam. we are an evening with Ryan Giggs in less than 4 weeks' time. Links in the video description, top there. Get yourself there, because you might be one of the lucky ones who gets to ask him a question on the night, but we'll certainly be putting questions to him. It's going to be a memorable evening. Ryan Giggs with me and Flex on stage, and you can be there. It's going to be a brilliant night. Make sure you get yourself some tickets. Links are in the video description for that. It's basically going to be a United Stand show live, but for everybody who's going to be there. So it's going to be fantastic. It's not going to be live on YouTube anyway. So, you know, if you want to be there on the night, we will be asking these questions. It's an opportunity to get these questions asked of a club legend about, you know, and who knows where we'll be. We'll have played Liverpool by then. We could be in the bottom half of the table. So it could be a very, very, very interesting night. Tickets, link in the video description. Really want to see loads of you there. You'll be able to get photographs, signatures, etc. Join us for that. It's going to be a fantastic evening. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for all your comments. Really enjoyed the show, and I will speak to you all very soon. Get your tickets for the Ryan Giggs event, and I'll see you tomorrow. Flex and Rants at 1 o'clock. I'll be live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. See you soon.